Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Stool podcast, a podcast for woodworkers and the maker community in general. This is episode number 34. My name is Robin Lewis from robinlewismakes.com. I'm joined by Joey Chalk from King Post Timberworks.
Hello.
And John Crawford from Periodic Furniture Studio.
Hello.
We live stream the recording on YouTube every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time or UTC plus 10. Or you can watch or listen to it later on YouTube, iTunes, or SoundCloud. I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. We'll get to your comments and questions towards the end of the show, but please feel free to chat amongst yourselves. The idea being that this is also a place for people to meet. Okay, so in terms of announcements, the biggest one is that if you were on the chats or trying to get on the live stream last week, you might have noticed that it was a bit of a dog show. As I put in the Facebook post after, post show, there isn't too much we can do about it. Obviously, we need to do something, so please keep letting us know. But yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. That.
So we are trying something new this week.
Yeah. So what we've done is what we're going to do is we're actually, all three of us are separately recording this episode on our own devices, which we'll then put together. So if you're watching this or if you're listening to this on iTunes, hopefully you will have noticed a bit of an improvement in the audio quality. It should just be a bit better, but the secondary function is that it's foolproof. We should.
Yeah. Famous last words.
At least we're not at the mercy of Google on this one. So yeah. So as I say, everyone in the chat tonight, please let us know if there are any problems. Cool. All right. Well, what have we been working on this week, Joey?
Yeah. Well, so we've got 2 weeks to catch up on. So
yeah.
So for me. While I've been working, some people may know, my wife is just about to have our second child. It's like any given second of any given day, something's going to happen, and potentially she still has another 4 days or something, or 5 days, because the hospital's doing whatever hospitals do. But so it's getting a bit difficult to get meetings and stuff teed up with clients and stuff like that, because I'm kind of like, yes, I can meet you, but I might just not come. So that's been a bit interesting, because I'm not sure if I should put a meeting off for a week or 2 weeks, or like at what point am I still going to be waiting for the same thing to happen. So anyway, that's just part of life. What have I done? I released a video the other week, start of the week, with my birch plywood kind of hall table thing. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. Pretty basic build, really. But I thought it was kind of cool because it was completely out of birch ply. So I don't think I've done anything like with one material like that before. So it was cool.
Quick question on that build.
Yep.
I know you chose to use water-based poly on the inside, oil on the outside. What was the reason? Because you normally just use water-based for everything.
For plywood, yeah. I think I mentioned in our finishing series that I really like the wipe-on poly now, and it probably is the finishes I find are much better than the water-based stuff. In this case, it was kind of, I didn't really have the time. I would have probably done the whole lot with water-based, but I was really running low. I was like on the dregs of the can, and I thought, well, I've got enough to do the inside. Again, I can get 2 good coats on the inside, and the outside, I've got half a can of wipe-on poly left. That'll be enough to do kind of 3-4 coats on the outside, and it was. Yeah. So, and actually really, really like the finish on that wipe-on poly on the birch ply. I thought it was really silky smooth and added a bit of depth to it. It was hard to describe, but it just looked like a really high build finish. So,
and you're not worried that you're going to have, now I guess you can argue this is going to be against a corner, so you might not notice it, but you're going to have this yellowing outside and clear inside. Or is that so negligent?
Well, it really doesn't matter now, because as soon as I walked in the door and we put it down, the client, like after about 3 minutes, she says, so will it matter if we paint it white? And so I said, no, sure, you can. You can paint it any color you like now. Just give it a sand back and throw some paint on. So, whatever.
Oh, man.
People
So,
like
sorry, is that the inside or the outside?
the whole lot. I think she might want it white now. So,
Jeez.
Fair enough.
it is what it is. So that's fine. Ages ago, I talked about, maybe, I'm not sure if I did. I've got this client who's got this bunch of old Remu floor joists, I think they are. And he wants me to make 2 kind of tool boys, like very classic kind of Victorian style tool boys, all completely out of timber. So I'm going to pick up that timber tomorrow. Kind of just all happens very suddenly. So that'll be pretty interesting. But more importantly, for me at least, that I've actually started work on my desk, which took up most of our talk last week, even though no one will ever hear what that was.
It was the best episode we ever had as well.
Yeah. But actually, I got a lot of insight from you guys last week about which direction I should go in. And I've made some crucial decisions on the design. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to be starting a personal job for me, which will be very complicated, I think. And it's like a French style, kind of Louis XIV, 15th style writing desk. And it will be eventually, I think I'm still going to go for a black finish, probably stained with gold gilding. So, and I've just started, I glued the first block of wood up today for one of the legs. So it's going to be a slow process. I tell you what, I can see why that kind of furniture is not made, because each of the 4 legs need a 130 by 130 solid block to cut the cabriolet legs from. So
and 90% of it would be waste too.
Yeah, 90% is waste. So it's like crazy amount of wastage. And I don't have, ideally you'd have a nice big hunk of rift sawn timber. Well, there's no way I'm getting that. So I'm just gluing a bunch of wood together, and because I'm staining it black, hoping that's going to hide a lot of the grain misdirection.
Sorry, I don't know if you mentioned this a bit earlier. Aren't you doing the whole you're adding the decorative stuff on with plaster?
Yeah. Well, originally in the oldie times, the what they call appliques would have been done out of plaster. These days, I can source very similar type moldings out of silicon. So I'm still not sure if I'm going to go more traditional and try and get plaster ones, or the advantage of silicon is that I can bend it around any curve that I happen to have. Whereas the plaster ones are all flat. And what they did was actually they'd stick them on, and any gaps behind the plaster molding, they would then backfill with plaster.
You could always make your own like negative out of the silicon, and then you can get best of both worlds, kind of jig it up.
I thought I could buy the silicon as a mold and make my own plaster Paris pieces, which I think might be nice. It might give it more density, but so yeah, that's a whole lot of decisions that I haven't even started on. I'm still trying to work out actually how to make it. So that will be fun.
But you've started.
I have started. I'm trying to give myself like 45 minutes to an hour at the end of every day just to like get something in the clamps and make up some templates or something. And hopefully that way I can just keep plugging away. And I think video wise, I'm going to have to go, it's going to have to be a series. Otherwise it's just going to be like 5 hours of stuff. So,
and then final edit's just going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm not. I probably won't even do a recap video. I'm just gonna. It'll probably end up being probably 5 or 6 videos, I think.
There's an interesting question. Actually, let's look at both of them while we're here, because they both relate to what you've been doing, Joe. The first one there was from Lee, in regards to raising the grain with the water-based finishes. Do you do that?
Not with water-based finishes, and I don't typically do it unless it's a really nice piece of furniture, because like if I have veneers on it, or if I've a particularly difficult section of timber, because it's like a flat panel, the grain's going to raise, I'm going to sand it back, anyway. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. I'm raising the grain and getting a clear coat on. There's no point pre-raising when I'm still going to sand it anyway.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing like I say, on a veneer or a very tricky part. Like on my desk, I'm pretty sure I will pre-raise the grain mostly. So because there's going to be a lot of carvings and stuff on it. So I think it's going to be tricky to do it otherwise.
And then that other one there from Leroy, will the desk be the only thing in the room, being so highly stylized, will it clash with everything else in the house?
Yeah, absolutely. It will not fit the house. I actually came up with this bright idea, which I haven't run by anybody yet, that the office room, I'm thinking I could turn the whole thing into a period room. And you open the door and you've suddenly got a 16th century office.
And all the orchestral music starts playing as the big doors swing open, and
like rip up the carpet, put some herringbone flooring down, like floor to ceiling bookcases, and velvet wallpaper and that kind of stuff.
I was so surprised when you talked about this last week about the design that you wanted to go, because it seems like so much of the stuff, like that coffee table that you did, it's so modern, and then to hark back to this completely other end. Granted, obviously it's going to be technically challenging, but it's just such a different style.
Yeah, well, that's what I think that draws me to it most, is the technicality. It's so difficult, and it's something that I've been drawn to ever since I really got serious about furniture making, is that style. And if you just put your mind to like an element of it, let's say the leg connection to the apron connection, just think about, if you have a Google, have a look at how it's done or how it looks, and then think, how the hell would you actually do that? And then plus add moldings, plus add veneer, continue the grain. Like, there's so much going on in this one little corner of the desk, and that's mind blowing. And I still don't know how to do it, and I'm just gonna kind of bash my way through it, and let's see what happens.
Is the order of things as important? Because I'd imagine at this stage, looking at it where you are now, you don't know the steps involved. So surely you'd need to know that.
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about every step. My process at this point is that I know I need some big lumps of wood for the legs, so I'm just going to make them. I've got the template for the legs. I'm not sure that I don't think I can cut my legs out yet, because I think I need to wait till I do the joinery while it's still square stock. So I'm almost at a standing point already, but at least I know I can make some blocks of wood at this point. So, so it's going to be interesting.
Cool. Anything else?
Oh, there is, but that's enough for me.
All right.
Oh, that's my go now, isn't it?
So, Jordan, we all saw some very interesting stuff on the Discord server last week.
Right. What happened?
Yeah. Do you want to bring us up to speed?
Where am I? What are we talking about? I'm so lost. Laser. Is this what we're talking about? Okay.
Yes.
So right at the end, like a minute to go of the last podcast, which nobody heard, you got an email.
I did.
Things happened. So let's.
Yeah. So I put a video out, which is now removed, and I'll get into why in a moment. About my dodgy dealings with my let's not say that word, crappy supplier. From China of my new laser cutter, basically saying that I got scammed, and this is the interaction I had, this is what happened, and then I got blocked. They've refused everything, so this is my last resort. And I basically put in that video screenshots of all of the emails, but I didn't blank out their actual personal email addresses. I left them in the video. So I got flagged on that video as, can't remember what it was called. Do you guys remember what it was called?
Privacy?
Yeah, like a privacy complaint, basically, by the company. So I actually took that video down and then re-uploaded it with the email addresses removed so that they couldn't remove it, as in they didn't have a real need to remove it anyway. However, it did get flagged again because the fact that I had them in the description of the video, which I didn't remove.
Right.
And I just said to myself that, I'm just going to let this kind of play out. And when YouTube removes it, that's when the video gets taken down. But in that time, they got something like 150 emails overnight sent to them with very offensive language, is what was said.
Just before we move off the getting flagged point of view, I'm surprised that YouTube didn't flag the video just because of the nature of the video, that it was almost inciting,
I mean,
encouraging people to send those emails. Like I would assume that that's outside of their guidelines too.
But in the guidelines, there's nothing against that, at least what I read, and that's not what it was flagged for. And at the end of the day, that video was about a dodgy business relation and more of a public service announcement, so to speak, and saying that this company is not honorable. Do not use them. This is my experience. So I think to say that if someone's getting ripped off, but you can't put a video up on that, it's kind of a little bit wrong. I mean, I don't know, but that's not what it was flagged for.
Well, no, it was more, because those guidelines are so vague. I wondered if that email that you got at the end of last week was more about YouTube flagging it as opposed to, because we thought it was the company.
It was the company that flagged it.
So it definitely
was. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's interesting. Sorry, I just remember the Samurai Carpenter did a video on this sawmill, kind of, I think it was a chainsaw sawmill trailer type dealie that he had bought, and then he was horrified with it. He hated everything about it. He did this big rant video about the company and how terrible they were, and then nothing happened for a while, but the company actually made a response video back, which was really interesting. And apparently they had similar issues, but it was the other way around, where Samurai wouldn't talk to them about his issues. He just went straight to YouTube. So they went to YouTube as well. But it's interesting that, well, as far as I know, that video is still up. So they didn't go down the flagging route. They just went straight back and did the same back to him about how he was a liar and all this kind of sort of stuff. So
if he didn't contact the supplier to try and resolve the issue, I think that is kind of poor form.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. They said that he had made no contact. Anyway, that's kind of getting off the topic, but I thought it's been done before. It's not like you've set a precedent. People do rant on about bad dealings. So
yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, they weren't responding to me. They blocked me in every way, and this was one way that got them to talk. So, I mean, it worked. So
yeah, geez, did it?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So continue. I interrupted.
So where was I? So basically, the next day, I woke up to like 6 emails from that company. I had one from the CEO saying that this is really bad for our business. I admit fault. I admit that Mac did you wrong, and blah blah blah. And I said nothing to that email. And then I got one from Jenny, maybe I can't remember, but she was saying that. Sorry, we can send you the tube. And I essentially said, look, I already have a tube. I bought it. I've spent another $2,000. It's in the video. I don't want to downgrade now from my upgrade. So forget it. And then I got another one from Mac saying, hello, are you there? I'm very sorry. And basically, I think I did myself a disservice because I kind of spoke to them really early on. And I listened to them. I told them that the issue isn't the fact that you sent me the wrong machine. It is your customer service. For all you know, I was more than happy to spend another $500 with your company to pay for the shipping if that's what was needed. Because either way, I had to upgrade this machine. I'd rather do it through you guys, have the warranty, which is no longer even in existence. But you guys just refused to talk to me as soon as I told you that you were at fault. I was like, oh, yes, very sorry, sir, very sorry, sir. No, you're not sorry. Just, listen to me, what I'm saying. And they just wouldn't.
You've been called out in a public space.
Exactly.
You're not sorry.
You're retreating because it's bad for business. And they said, this is very bad for business. This is bad for my business. This isn't anything. But essentially, we came to a resolve where they've given me a partial discount, which I think I really should have pushed for a lot more considering how much more I had to spend, but that's fine. Sent me a few spare parts, and in exchange, which they didn't know that it was going to get taken down by YouTube anyway, I would remove my video. But what I said in that deal is saying that I will send you random messages requesting a quote for this machine. And if that quote is not accurate, I'm going to put the video live again. and that way I can kind of, hopefully anyway, assure that the company is going to stop these dodgy advertising deals.
Yeah.
And be honest about it. Because
do you feel, sorry.
No, go on.
Do you feel that it was the company as a whole, perhaps, or perhaps just Mac was trying to do what he could to earn a couple of extra bucks?
I think it was very much Mac. I don't think he works there anymore.
Right.
I think he was actually punished, which I kind of feel bad about. But at the end of the day, he's a rip-off merchant, so stuff him.
Yeah.
But I think it was him. But they also priced me in the Chinese New Year special this machine cheaper than what it usually is. And I paid for it, and it took them so long to build it. And I think they were just trying to cut corners wherever the hell they could.
Yeah.
And this is what they did to kind of not lose money on a machine. And I think that's more of what it was. I don't think it was they intentionally would do this if someone paid the full, I think it's usually like $4,000 US, and I paid $3,500 US or something. I don't think they would have done it in that case, but how can I know? I mean, what happened to me is what happened to me, and it was still a rip-off. So it was a bit harsh, but at the end of the day, I think I gave them a wake-up. I got dialogue open with them again, and it was a fun video.
Yeah. So end result's good, essentially. I mean, you've got what you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had have stood my ground a bit more, I probably could have basically had the $2,000 that I paid upgrading that machine compensated,
right?
Instead of a couple $100. But at the end of the day, it's still a really good price. Like really good price. Still $8,500 less than I could have got it in Australia for.
That's crazy, yeah.
So who cares?
So the issues on the videos, the two because they're not copyright.
They were privacy complaints, I guess.
Yeah, privacy complaints.
What's happened to those? Have those affected your channel at all? Or
no, not at all.
No
so YouTube's actually pretty cool about it, because they say if you remove this video within 48 hours, we won't investigate this complaint, and it won't affect your ranks. After 48 hours, we will investigate this, and if it's found to be true that it is a privacy breach, then we will remove your video, and it may result in a strike. So I think they have a little bit of lenience as far as, this guy has, not done our guidelines, but it's only minor, so we'll let him off. Or this guy's totally just basically said a hate crime and to send letters into, sympathizers and.
That's why I'm asking, because if I commit murder on YouTube, do they give me 48 hours to sort it out, or does it?
That was this whole big thing a while ago, wasn't it? I mean, YouTube spent ages before they took the video down. So it's just,
and there's no repercussion on your standing as well, which I find pretty interesting.
I mean, but it wasn't like it was I think it would affect it if it was something really bad, like saying that, racist remarks or something like that. But it wasn't. It wasn't saying that all Chinese companies are bad. It is saying this Chinese company is bad. This is why. Here's the evidence. This is so I don't know. I think if it was done in a different nature, probably could affect it a little bit stronger.
Yeah, because if this is the process that everyone goes through whenever there's a breach, how on earth do you end up getting your channel taken down after 3 strikes? You've got to be doing something really wrong to get there.
And that's why they take them down, because those people just deserve it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
So, but end of the day, good.
Are you making anything?
I am. Well, yes and no. I haven't made physical things, but I've made things happen. So
you've got breadboards and stuff.
Yeah.
That's actually an Ellen initiative. So I just said, if you take charge of it. If you want me to go into it, and then I'll get onto what I'm into.
Yeah, what is that all about?
So right now my business is in the gutter. I mean, it's somewhat self-inflicted, somewhat not. It's just doing crappy jobs, crappy people, or not doing quotes in a timely manner. And I'm just trying to think of ways that maybe I can supplement some income until this laser's up and running, so I can go full stream ahead. That's not the word I'm looking for. Full steam ahead with the actual business plan, which is on paper. And Ellen said, you should start an Etsy store. And my response to that was that there is so much crap on Etsy that you're never going to get found. So, if you want to help me do it, I'm happy to humor the thought, but you've got to kind of be the powerhouse behind it, because I've got too much going on as it is.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what she came up with. So the whole thing is that it's got to be simple for me to make, which is basically pressing go on the laser. There's no gluing up, no restoring, no nothing. It's just laser stuff for now. And what is on the coasters, which is "You're a C word, but I love you," organic a-hole, and the definition of a-hole.
I'm pretty sure we can say arsehole on this podcast.
We can say arsehole, good. Is the whole, it's funny, it's lighthearted, but crappy. So it's crappy gifts for crappy people. And it's under the name Periodic Profanity because, everyone is periodically profane. But yeah, the kind of thinking about the shitty sayings is that I can use keywords and phrases in the search that get very little results. So if someone goes onto Etsy and looks for gifts for friends, there's going to be 350,000 results.
Yeah.
But if someone's favorite word is the C word and they search for a friend of C word gifts, there's only 150 results that come up.
Is there that many?
I mean, there is a fair few up there, but, we've kind of trying to be smart about maybe getting found on there. So far, there's not really been anything, but, who cares? It's cost me $12 in cork, so if nothing sells, nothing sells.
There's one of the people who watch the podcast, Colin Black Byron, he's got a YouTube channel as well. He's recently got into selling knives. So he gets these knife blanks. I can't remember where he gets them from. It's either Japan or China. He puts the handles on them, and he says they are going out quicker than he can make them.
Really?
And I can't believe that kitchen knives, you would I would assume the same thing that you're saying, Jordan. There's a million people doing it, but he reckons they are just going so quickly.
I mean, he has this benefit of big numbers on social media. And when the algorithm on those sorts of sites starts seeing that you're getting found, then it starts to bump you up. So the initial views do definitely help with that. And also, I mean, it's a pretty generic thing, knife handle. So I would be in the same book thinking, no way in hell would that be a successful business plan. But at the end of the day, if it works, then you can't really question it. Maybe he's done some amazing keyword optimizing so that when people search for random things, it pops up, and that's what triggers a really good idea.
Because I think he's opened an Etsy store as well. That's how he's doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to be really smart with how you get found now, because it's flooded. And if you're doing something that other people are doing, then you have to be really smart with how you get found on those networks. You have to use not generic search terms, but very specific ones that people will look for but won't come up with many results. And that's the hardest thing of anything online.
Yeah, so Lee Vella in the chat's just saying, I sell at least one piece of furniture every week on Etsy. It really is powerful if you SEO the hell out of it.
Yeah, which is search engine optimized. So, and that's the thing. I'm week one, and I have a piece of paper which is entitled "Why We Effed Up on Etsy" already, and it's been 2 days, and that's because the keywords, and I kind of explained this to Ellen when she was doing it all, has to be really specific, not too broad, blah blah blah, and everything on there was gifts for friends. That's not a good keyword. So hopefully with a few changes we'll be underway there.
Yeah.
On top of that,
see how this goes. I've sort of half looked into this, but I'm selling them from my website. I've never actually gone the Etsy route, just because I've always assumed, it's not going to work. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out, because if it goes well, I might think about doing it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you have to be smart about it. I think that's the hard thing. Now onto like what I've been working on is my new business structure, which is DIY surfboard kits. I may have talked about that a few times, I'm not sure, but I've finally launched my website just so I can start indexing in Google, and it will be kind of launched officially at the end of this month. But basically I've come up with my base designs, which is a 9'6" SUP, a mini mal, couple of shortboards, and everything else is kind of to be confirmed, but all of the research is done, the website is launched, and I have had meetings with people about insurance, and I've got a really cool collaboration which might happen here in the workshop, which is also making bamboo bikes.
Oh, wow.
So like a cool Spanish guy that knows the engineer next door, or like kind of did his first, and he wants to do a similar thing that I want to do, which is bringing people in to build their own.
Right.
Is that what the insurance is for?
No, I mean, insurance is just to get blanket cover for if someone comes in and they do something stupid, they don't sue me.
Sorry, so they're going to be doing it in your workshop?
Yeah. So
I thought it was just kits that they buy and take home.
It's both. So initially launching is just the kits that people can build, DIYers, but the end game is to be charging out packages. So say that you want to build your own SUP, $1,800, and that gets you everything, including my workshop, to come in. You have guidance from me, one-on-one tuition, and you can build everything start to finish and hit the water.
And what kind of time frame?
That's the really good thing, which I'm hoping is a good thing anyway, is that I've set up this thing which is flexible scheduling. So you can book in any time that works for you, because I know people aren't going to get 6 days off straight.
That's how long it takes, though.
Generally.
Right, okay.
So you can come in for 2 hours after work. I'll be open till 9 o'clock, starting at 10 a.m., working till 9 p.m. 2 hours after work, just book in a bench. I'll have 4 benches at any given time. You can come in for a full weekend. You can come in basically any time as long as I'm here. And the cool thing about the kits is that there's not actually any machining to be done.
Right.
So it's pretty safe at the end of the day. The worst thing is a bit of glue on your clothes. So, you know, in my cost, you'll get your safety gear, your coveralls, your insurance to cover you if you cut your hand off, blah, blah, blah.
So,
Just don't go near the jointer.
It's super flexible. And in doing so, like it's moving away from this service, which is really hard to excel in, and it's putting us into this product which is giving people this pretty niche thing, but is just trending all to hell, which is this eco movement. You know, there's no plastics, there's no like terrible stuff in the boards. It's a family activity SUPing opposed to surfboarding, which is, you know, mostly men. It's not all men, but mostly men, and it has to be on the coast. Like this can be river, it can be dam, flat water, whatever.
It's exercise as well, which is...
It's exercise, and in this whole startup thing, it opens up a lot of opportunities on other things to expand into. So initially it'll be building boards, and then it'll be weekend workshops to build your own paddle, and then there'll be resin casting your own fins and R&Ding and blah, blah, blah. Like there's a whole heap that I can go into. And my frame kits, if you just put one outside, people stop and pick it up and look at it.
Awesome.
And it just draws people in. And that's something that I haven't done with my furniture. I mean, people stop and look at it, but it's not that different. Whereas this is quite unique. So we'll see. Hopefully it takes off.
Is it so? Just I have no idea what a stand-up board is going to cost me if I go and buy one on the shop. Is it what are we looking at? Is it
so cheap boards are now available for like $1,000,
right?
Even $800, but really cheap. That's the cheapest, crappiest, ugliest thing made out of plastic and EVA foam.
Yeah,
a really good high-end one, which is ultra lightweight, which obviously I can't compete with, would be about $2,500 to $3,000.
Wow.
Whereas my like workshops would be $1,800 less fiberglassing.
Okay.
One thing that I won't do in the workshop is fiberglassing, because one, it's the biggest thing that keeps your board afloat,
watertight.
like, you know, and together, but also the occupational health and safety with those resins, you really can't do it in a workshop environment with like public guests. So
because that's just the fumes that come off it.
Yeah, the fumes and also the technique. Like if you stuff up that first coat, then you have to start from scratch. You can't just sand it all back and begin. You have to start your board again. So I'm not going to, at least initially, I'm not going to do it. I'll have a secondary. And, $500 will get a stand-up paddleboard glassed. So they're paying maybe $2,300 all up, which is equivalent cost of a really nice board for something they've made by hand, which is natural. It's, I'm looking into using bamboo instead of fiberglass because it's actually just as strong, but it's natural and eco-friendly resin. So it's like this real eco footprint thing.
Oh, that sounds cool, man.
But yeah, that's launched. If you want to like check out what I've done, it's DIYsurfboardkits.com.
That's a good name.
Yeah, and I got a really good name for it. I mean, I probably should have put wooden in there, but one of these guys in the chat is probably going to go do it now.
So was it DIYsurfboardkits.com?
Yeah.
And you're shipping internationally?
Ship internationally. So free shipping Australia, $15 to New Zealand, and between $50 and $80 everywhere else in the world.
This man. And
sorry, isn't this going to be like a gigantic like crate that you got to send?
No, it's a flat pack kit. It's you
just
assemble it. It's basically like the dinosaurs that you put together in National Geographic.
Yeah, but that's
like that.
It's still like that's a big box. It's not.
No, it's not. I've got it
Really?
down.
Okay.
I've got it down to 1 meter because you have to there's shipping limitations, so I have to design around that.
Yeah.
So your spines, which is the up and down ribs, they're broken down with dovetail joints, jigsaw puzzle joints. So you glue it all together and reinforce it either side of the joint. There's no lateral load on it. It's just up and down, so that's plenty. And then you do the same on your rails, and then you supply your own wood. So if you're in Australia, I give you a supplier, which is Colonia or Western Red Cedar or plywood or balsa. Like you can use anything you want. It's just there's a few guidelines which.
So that kit, it was obviously much cheaper then because it's not. They're using your workshop. They're not buying the timber strips.
So the kits are way cheaper because it's just the plywood and a full one-to-one paper template, so you can do your deck and fin positions and all that. But yeah, they're like for a short board it's $160. For a full-size SUP it's like $450.
Yeah, the bonus I've found of the 2 or 3 times I've done any export is, and you will have the same, is that our dollars are low compared to the US and Canada and Britain.
Yeah.
And so while you're making $1,000, they're only spending say $750.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it just makes it that much better for them. So it really makes life pretty good.
Yeah. And the other thing is that like I can, as an order comes in, I can pop down to my supplier and pick up the sheets. Like I don't need to store stuff. It's pretty good for that. That's what's been taking all of my time, and that's why I haven't made shite.
That sounds like a lot of.
It's been a lot of work. All right, Robin, come on, let's get on to you.
So speaking of taking up a lot of time, we're almost at the end of the show.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. So this week, not too much for me. Put out the knife video, which was pretty cool. I've never seen that process of taking a blank, a steel blank, and turning it into a knife. It's crazy, like the level of knowledge that this buddy of mine has. Like, you've got to get it to this temperature for this long, and this, there's so much that goes into it. I can totally see why this is just knife making is just a hobby in of itself. The top hasn't done as well as I thought it would, but it's been about a month since I've asked me to turn into a coffee table, and this split level, it's called a split level coffee table. And the worst part as well. Yeah, well, we'll just have to push through it.
The stream's dead. Sorry, everyone.
So we didn't get shit.
Yeah. Let's just pick up from here, and then we'll do the last little bit. Where was I?
So you terrible design.
Yeah, so it's because it's not only that it's something that I don't fits like it doesn't actually fit in my cutlery drawer.
You've got to put it in a very big.
So I've started working on that. The inside of it's made of cedar, so my shop smells beautiful.
Nice.
Right now. And yeah, that's pretty much me. So going back to that coffee, can you do that without using any rails?
Yes.
Do you reckon?
The end of the leg, cut a dovetail. So when you're looking down on the end of the leg, it forms the dovetail shape.
Now the leg is going up sort of in the center of the...
Straight through the top, right?
And no, I don't want it to go through the top.
Okay. Well, that...
Yeah, and that's bad.
You need as much... You're going to have to, because you've only got 19 mil to play with. You just don't have enough timber there.
So there's no conceivable way that... The reason I ask is because I can go back to the in-laws and say, this isn't going to work. I've got to, I don't know, put a wedge through it or something like that from the top. Come through and put a wedge down. But I was just wondering if there's a way that you guys can, I just thought maybe if I use epoxy, because then you're really grabbing the end grain as well.
No, like you just don't have enough meat. I would say the minimum for that kind of thing would be like 35 mil. That's what I did on that big walnut sofa a while ago I had.
Right.
Yeah.
You could look at, I mean, it's a little bit hard to envision, but you could also look at, can you like build up underneath it? So put a ring around it. So instead of it being 19 mil in that section, make a decorative 30 mil thick section. Does that make sense? So you're building up stock just around that leg.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, yeah.
And then it's kind of like a collet that you can clamp around that leg instead of having it go through the top. You're supporting it underneath. Is that something the design would allow?
So you're essentially like a tapered leg, say from 40 by 40 at the bottom up to like 60 by 60 at the top, giving you a lot more seating area. And you could have a large stubby tenon.
Or I think what Jordan's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, and I say this because I did this on the cot build. If you take a block and you turn it on its side, so you've got long grain join underneath, and then you bring the leg up through that into the underneath of the table. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sort of. So you're building up. It doesn't necessarily need to be long grain. You're just kind of building up thing around it to add extra support.
So it could just be a thicker leg at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because is it square or round or?
It was 42 by 32.
So rectangular. Yeah, because you could probably just build like a little frame around that if it allows in the design to give you all the extra support you need. And then you don't have to be, then it doesn't have to punch all the way through. But
you don't want to make a feature of punching through?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's not to say that I can't come through, because you're right. That,
like I was saying before, the good thing with the dovetail is that it produces its own racking support, whereas a square tenon is more liable to want to move kind of diagonally, I guess. Then at the bottom of that dovetail, you have a little shoulder, just like a regular tenon. And if you brought that through, I mean, that thing, if it's a tight fit, it's not going to wobble any which way.
Sorry, I think I'm confused. How do you get the dovetail through?
Is this on the edge of the piece or center?
Dovetail, yeah, right. Yeah, middle
so
works.
You'd kind of just do a shoulder onto a tenon and push it through, and then it sits on that shoulder, and then you can wedge it.
Yeah, so my thinking, I'm not sure if I can explain it exactly, but instead of having a rectangle tenon, that rectangle becomes a dovetail shape, like an extruded dovetail, all the way from the shoulder up through the top.
Yeah, but it's
actually very simple. The only thing that is on an angle that needs cutting is the actual tenon. The mortise is still square sided.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I am so lost. All right. Yeah, maybe if you send me a picture, and I think I'll probably go that route.
Just
That's
block
the
them.
way it is.
Block them.
Just block them. Yeah. Cool. All right. Right. Well, to be fair, that's pretty much the show.
There was a question.
Yep.
Before. very quickly, I forget who. My jointer is okay at best. When everything is lined up, works good. I haven't been able to get this on my jointer flat that works. Like if you're using it for a Saturday, that'd be fine. Using it all day, every day, not so good.
I think Ascent is the same as major woodworking equipment over here.
Right.
I could be wrong on that, but yeah, it sounds just like the same criticism of major as well, though. Yeah. So
Cool.
that's my 2 cents.
Speaking of things being flat, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned to you guys that I couldn't work out why I couldn't get my jointer to get rid of the, it was, what's the word? Not
Convex.
The sliver of metal that runs through it. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
The gib.
The gib, yeah, that's it.
The gib.
The gib, yeah, that's it, right? The gib had half fallen out. So every time I was tightening it down, it was just twisting the whole tape. But I didn't know that that was what that was there for.
Yeah. You
So
should
that's-
check it because if it hasn't got detents in it, you can go through it with a little drill bit and you can put a detent and then it won't fall out again. Just in one of them. Don't do it in all of them.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw this thing falling out and I didn't even think about it. Turned out that was it. So I just pushed it back up, tightened everything up, and it was basically back to acceptable.
Yeah. That's really important for tolerances. Good.
Yeah, very simple fix. Okay, all right. Well, let's and B, which we'll find out later tonight if that's been successful.
That's a morning after pill, isn't it?
To everyone in the chat, yeah, really sorry. It looks like it's just bombed out in the last 5 or 10 minutes.
I blame Joey for changing it to Tuesday.
Yeah, it seems like it's my fault.
I'll see if anyone's been watching Stan or something, because that could be it. But yeah, who knows? This is just going to be a very tricky one.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks very much for joining in. Hope you enjoyed the show. And Joey, Jordan, anything you guys want to add before we?
Nope.
No, we might have possibly a better podcast next week.
We'll do our best, and if not, we'll keep trying. All right, everyone. Well, thanks very much, and we'll see you again same time next Tuesday.
See ya.
Bye.